Yikes. Yes, the second controversial episode of season 2 has aired, and this is the one where, like, before there's context to be given, I can't really give context here. Episode 7, similar to the novel series itself, this was not a happy time for me. When I read this part, there was no defending Rudeus. This is literally one of those moments where Rudeus does something where you're like, I kind of get why he did this, but at the same time, he's not justifying it all. This is not a good move. I can't excuse it. It's a bad Rudeus move. Plain and simple. And that's honestly still, and I still say this, I still think it should exist. Him making a terrible decision, doing something horrifying, doesn't change the fact that it can still exist in the novel. And I'm still going to not like it. It's similar to the whole situation with the Beastfolks that were way back in season 1. In the novel series, it's way in his head about some inappropriate thoughts he's having before he snaps into, realizing this is bad. It still didn't make it right. Like, I still read that part and said, Rudeus, I don't like this. Similar here. And there's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is, yes, having 2 girls tied up inside of the room and then touching them, I can't justify it. It's unpleasant. But additionally, the aspect of how much this is so paralleled to his own experiences in his previous life. He was so caught up in his rage about the Roxy figurine, which right now, Roxy is his goddess. I think that's the only clarification I can really give. Roxy is literally, he believes, a goddess. And so learning that they did this to this holy figure makes him extremely upset and completely irrational. Again, not excusing it, but that is sort of the reason why he's doing this. But at the same time, there is an element of he's doing something right now that he should find deplorable. Because in his previous life, for those who don't remember, in his previous life, he stepped out of line. He spoke up to some guys, the wrong guys, and then they basically bullied him for a long time. Enough that they tied him up and stripped him down on the front gates of the school. And they took pictures of him. What did he do to Linia and Pursena? Tied them up. Stripped them down. Didn't take pictures, but he doesn't have pictures. But he did pretty much the same thing that was done to him. And I always felt like, man, is it going to actually have Rudeus go, wait, I did the same things to Linia and Pursena that was done to me? How humiliating was that to me, and now I'm doing it to somebody else? Oof, Rudeus, really? This is not a bad thing for you? But anyways, that all said, my thoughts on episode 7. To give people context, as usual, this is from the perspective of somebody that has read pretty much what is going to be adapted for the second season. I'm not going to give any spoilers for what's to come. I'm just going to analyze what's happening here and give my thoughts on it and add additional context as to what was possibly skipped from the novel series. I think this episode did really well in the regards to adapting everything. They held nothing back. There's only one thing that they held back, but other than that, they pretty much didn't hold anything back. And I think there's so many parts in here that were so cleverly adapted. I just got a huge, massive kick out of it. No, not the Linia and Pursena thing. There's some chuckles there, but mostly around Julie's reactions. But let's jump into it. Of course, our opening segment that we have here is Sylphie is going out exercising, talks about how she's doing her daily routine of exercising, basically trying to find her own limits. And additionally, getting a layout of the town itself. So if anything happens with Ariel, she knows where to go. She knows some extra directions she can go. And yes, it sort of kind of carries over to the other scene, which is another Sylphie's perspective kind of thing, where we see essentially what happens here, why Ariel and Fitz and Luke are going out, is because Ariel keeps an eye on her tenants. She knows that they're in a new land. They're away from their comfort zone. She's pretty much pulled them away from their homes. And she does acknowledge whenever it looks like they're stressed. And she doesn't want them to break down. She's already lost some people for them kind of breaking down. She wants to give them sort of time where they can breathe. And so she does take them out every now and then to go shopping and stuff. And this is kind of one of those moments. And yes, we get a little perspective of how, yes, Sylphie's learning the layout of the town, but also Luke is too, but he's getting it from his dates. But this kind of opens that door to, yes, Fitz once again being reminded that, yeah, Rudeus is a gray rat, and they like lots of women, and even if she were to get married to him, he would just have other women as well. So it's kind of getting her sort of her mindset of what she thinks of Rudeus. Despite the fact that she really wants to be with him, she still has this example next to her that is Luke, saying about how, yeah, technically Paul had many women as well, Luke seems like he has many women. This is a gray rat thing. But additionally, kind of having her realize, oh wait, why am I imagining that I'm going to get married to him? Like, how? But yeah, they do have like a couple of the other side things here about Sylphie, which it does look like they're actually giving a lot of perspective of her, which I like. Which does make me kind of glad that I didn't get into Sylphie's perspective yet with a video, because it does look like they're actually covering a lot of it. So it's a good thing. But yes, jumping over to Julie, this is a weird translation here, honestly. We have this little segment where we see that Julie is doing well. She's learning all this stuff really well. She's basically casting with incantations once every day, and then trying to do incantation lists. She, within a month, pretty much learns how to do incantationless spells. But she still has a mana pool limit, so she's not able to really push them much. But my gosh, she's so cute. Your jumping for Julie was so cute. Everything with Julie in this episode, they're pulling off how super adorable she is. But no, it was kind of interesting because like it cuts the scene and it shows Zanoba and Julie kind of practicing together. And it does mention the fact that, yes, like I mentioned with the previous episode and talking about that to death last week, Julie isn't really necessarily a for servitude person. She's not a servant. She's actually being more treated like a pupil for Rudeus and a little sister for Zanoba. Like I said, translation was a little bit weird. For some reason, they put Emoto as like younger disciple or something like that. No, she's a little sister to Zanoba. Like I said, he named her after his brother. So yes, she's like a little sister to Zanoba. And I do like the fact they kind of point out the fact that, yes, typically with a lot of these servants, they will mark them with a spell so that you can't get away. Kind of the whole shield hero thing. They normally mark them so that they have this crest that makes it to where they can't run away. And they're not doing that with Julie. They're not treating her that way. She is like a little sister, treating her, teaching her, all this kind of stuff. It's almost like it's kind of, yes, this is where they got her from. And yes, they technically gave money to that company, which is bad. But it's almost like she's an adopted child more than anything. It's like they got her from an orphanage, really. Not saying it's right, I know. But like I said, I kind of found it weird they translate it to junior disciple instead of Emoto, because it's a significant change from little sister to junior disciple. But yes, that's when we get the scene with the reveal of what happened to the Roxy figurine. Like I said, this scene, they pulled it off. They absolutely nailed this scene. That little scene. Zanoba showing Julie the reserved figurine, showing how amazing Rudeus is at crafting these things. The entire time, Julie's like, She's just kind of accepting this brainwashing coming from Zanoba, pretty much. But then, yes, hey, what happened to the Roxy figurine? And then Zanoba is panic mode. I left it behind. You're lying. Yeah, actually, it's here. I love the seiyus pulled off this episode. I mean, even with Pursena and Linia and Zanoba as well, just pulling off that panic state that Zanoba has. He is hyperventilating literally into the microphone. Hats off to him for nailing the scene. You get that sense of how terrified Zanoba is. He's literally, his body is like the weight of iron. He can't move. He's terrified of Rudeus. And yes, he knows that this is a symbol of his goddess. And he's terrified of Rudeus knowing what happened to it. So he reveals to it, and yes, goes crazy. He's just going off about how these girls did this and how Zanoba is betraying him. And you see Julie just kind of slowly walk around Rudeus behind Zanoba. It was so perfectly done. Great job nailing just the emotion of each character. Rudeus is pretty much in the state of like, what is going on? Zanoba's in the state of, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. In Zanoba's head right here, this is actually a perspective of Zanoba right here. And in Zanoba's head, he's like, yes, I'm a blessed child. I'm impervious to blows and stuff. But I'm not impervious to magic, and Rudeus knows magic, so I'm probably gonna die. But yes, then also seeing just Julie just panic and hide. Like, I felt so bad for Julie to be in this scene. It's like, I almost wish that Rudeus was like, okay, Julie, leave the room for a second. Zanoba, what's happening? Like, let her leave the room first. But there's actually another reason why she'll end up being terrified of Rudeus, which we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, like I said, just, they nailed this scene, just that fear of Zanoba, and then him explaining that, oh yeah, by the way, this is what happened. Which, yes, we never really got a perspective of this, really. We're just kind of seemingly just kind of hinting at what happened here. Taking a trip back here. Ariel first arrived at the university. She felt that was the best place for her to come. They gave her sanctuary, basically, from the kingdom that she fled from. They're pretty much allowing her to be there. They're not going to rush in and attack her because, technically, this is like a sanctioned area of this kingdom. So this is like a refuge for her. Well, while she's there, at some point, she decides, okay, I need to get power. I need allies. And her focus is both to get extremely exceptional people, which she'll even end up having to invite in, but she doesn't have the ability to yet. And additionally, she wants to gain favor of the Magic Guild and everybody up here, all the heads of different locations of the northern region. So how she does that is she needs to get into the student council, because that's the best way to get sort of notoriety and get people's attention from outside the school. So she goes to join the student council. But Fitz suggests, don't just go for VP. And don't wait. Become the president when you get into your second year, because the current president's going to graduate and the VP will take that position. So she's like, no, jump past the VP. So the way to do that is they had to gain notoriety. And currently, what happened here is that Linia and Pursena were sent to the university by the tribe leader. He's like, Ghislaine is a failure. Gaius is a failure. All these people are weak. This is kind of something that they kind of point out when the tribe leader is talking to Rigerd, when Rudeus was down there. He says, everybody here is weak. All the soldiers this generation are weak. He didn't want that with Linia and Pursena. So they sent them away from the kingdom, away from the tribe, because they wanted them to essentially have an experience without having people to control. No leadership or anything. No minions or anything. Send them away from home. But what he didn't realize when they got to the university itself didn't want to create tension with the Beastfolk. So the teachers and everybody were kind of afraid of Linia and Pursena, kind of allowing them to do whatever they want. And they took note of this. The students were afraid of them. They were easily able to defeat them because they used their Beastfolk tribe special technique, which is their voice magic. They're able to project magic from their voices, which is typically stunning. You get the sense of this when Rudeus was first attacked by Gaius, when he was, touching the sacred beast, and he came in and he yelled at him, and it stunned Rudeus. That's their vocal magics, which, yes, Rudeus in the novel actually starts to learn and even tried to use on Orsted, but they cut that out with the anime. So they use that ability to do vocal magic and stun their opponent, and then using incantations they were learning at the university, they were taking out a lot of the upperclassmen. So this gained them notoriety, and everybody feared them. And eventually, yes, all the Beastfolk started showing up. They had like this pack of like 20 Beastfolk that were kind of walking around with them. They were taking over the university. So Ariel knew the best way to get the attention of everybody and gain that position as president, we need to take down Linia and Pursena. So she actually had them, she devised this plan where Ariel went into I think it was the cafeteria, bumped shoulders with Linia and Pursena, and then Ariel, because she's so good at this kind of stuff, she's able to kind of whisper just loud enough that the ears of a Beastfolk would hear and insult them. She was provoking them to attack her so that it looked like self-defense. And then she was able to take down Linia and Pursena, and it looked like self-defense rather than her just taking them out and then ruining the reputation of the university. And as he did that, the teachers decided at that point, pretty much kick out all of Linia and Pursena's lackeys, kick them out of the school. But they didn't kick out Linia and Pursena because they still wanted to not, again, offend the Beastfolk. And again, Linia and Pursena are princesses, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that yet. Linia is the granddaughter of the current tribe leader of Doldia. And with Pursena, she's the granddaughter of the Bulldog tribe. So these are two princesses. These are two people that will eventually become tribe leaders, with their husbands. So yes, that pretty much knocked down Linia and Pursena, and they were trying to get back up on their feet, and that's when they took down Cliff and Zanoba and started forcing Zanoba to get information about Ariel. How to take down Zanoba is, yes, they challenged him to a duel, and like I mentioned in the anime, they had to give up something that was precious to them. That was the Roxy figurine, because that's the thing that he adored so much. Master made this, and it's so incredible. And yes, they trampled it. So that's kind of the backstory of Linia and Pursena. That's why they've been knocked down, and they're kind of trying to rehabilitate and be proper students. At the same time, they were trying to see how they can possibly gain their position back, because this is their territory. They had it for so long, for an entire year, until Ariel showed up. And now Ariel showed up and just took over. And that's something they don't like. But yes, now knowing that the one that destroyed the figurine was Linia and Pursena, Rudeus is a little mad. There's kind of a mixture here. There's a side of it that Rudeus is really upset at Linia and Pursena because they're bullies. And Rudeus, because of his previous life experience, hates bullies. These people upset him. And plus, seeing the idea that they destroyed this thing it took so long to create, he kind of equates it to somebody showing up with a bat and destroying his precious computer, his brother. So that stuff is carrying over here and making him, really angry. But at the same time, there's this Roxy figurine, which again, for those that don't remember, ever since pretty much the start of this season, Rudeus has been worshiping Roxy. her Ponsu specifically, but it is Roxy. Roxy is this goddess to him. He is a fanatic of religion. They mentioned several times in this, Zanoba himself, seeing Rudeus being outraged by the breaking of the figurine, he's seeing it as, man, this guy is like a temple knight, like a holy Millis temple knight, a fanatic. The expressions and the anger that he has is similar to somebody that is a fanatic of a religion. That is Rudeus. He truly sees Roxy as his goddess. So these two things kind of coming together is making him completely irrational. But because he finds out that it wasn't Zanoba that destroyed it, he's like, okay, I'm not mad at you, but we got to teach these two a lesson. So that creates this whole plan to take down Linia and Pursena, which, yes, I think they pulled off that scene as well, just coming out there, standing out there in the middle of it. In the novel, they kind of mention the idea that they're kind of standing there waiting for the two of them to come by, and he's like, I really do hope that you come by, otherwise it's going to be very embarrassing that we're standing here. But no, they end up showing up, and yes, they kind of had this emphasis given to Linia and Pursena, despite the fact they're kind of pushing back, like, get out of the way. At the same time, there is this element of Linia and Pursena not really wanting to fight. They are corrected. They're trying to have normal school lives, but still, Rudeus making fun of her speech patterns is enough to kind of set her off. There's a couple things here. One is the fact that they're emphasizing the fact that Linia is the loose cannon. She's the one that always jumps to a fight. Pursena's like mentioning, God, here she goes again. She always jumps into fights. But at the same time, there is a little emphasis given here that Pursena has a better ability to smell. In the first meeting that Rudeus has with Linia and Pursena, Linia is the one that sniffs and realizes that Rudeus, is having naughty thoughts. She can smell that he's aroused. And additionally here, Pursena is almost able to sense that they're here for a fight. So she has a heightened sense of smell. But yeah, I like this because it plays out really well because Zanoba's already given Rudeus a little bit of a sense of what's going on here, how they fight, what kind of led to them taking over the school itself, which is, yes, their vocal magic, which Rudeus is, again, familiar with because he was taught it. So he immediately knows that Pursena is going to go pretty much bark, use her vocal magics to stun them, and then Linia will come in and attack. That's their routine. That's how they fight together. But immediately, Rudeus projects something at her that causes her to inhale it, and it messes up her vocal magic. And yes, immediately dispatching Linia before stepping on her and saying, oh, so it's white today. We all know what he's talking about. But no, when I read the novel series, and they totally nailed it with the adaptation as well. In the novel series, it's so funny because it cuts over to, okay, Zanoba's probably handled Pursena by now. No, he's just chasing her around the courtyard. He's just running after her, and she's just running on all fours around the area. And so, yes, he quagmires and knocks her out. So well portrayed. I absolutely loved it. I think everything in this episode was really portrayed well. This is another really good adaptation of an episode. And yes, very surprised about how little they cut out of it. Following them knocking him out, yeah, that's when he calls out to Julie. She pops out of the bushes, comes over there with the bags and puts them in it. I won't get into yet what is going on here, but yes, Julie's not happy about this. She's, at this point, has a massive amount of fear in her eyes, and they might get into it with the following episodes, so I'm not going to get exactly what's happening here. But the assumption here, at this point, is that she just seen how he dispatched these two without even trying. She's got this fear in how powerful he is. But yes, that's when we get into the questionable scene that is going to cause everybody to be angry for the entire week. And I don't even know if I'll make any follow-up videos because honestly, there's nothing to defend here. Like I said before, there's literally nothing to defend here. Now, the only thing I really defend here is the idea of, like I said before, Rudeus' state of mind, which is that's the only thing I can explain. I can't say it's right, but yes, he is seeing these two as bullies. He wants to get back at them. He hates bullies. And at the same time, yes, in the midst of all this, he's going, wait, I wonder if this will work for my thing down there. He is, at this point, been living with this ED for a long time, and it's destroying him in a way, and he wants to find any possible way that he can sort of fix it. And so yes, that's his excuse, not mine. Rudeus' excuse. I'm not going to excuse it. But yes, he gropes, which again, I was very surprised they actually had that. I assumed they were going to imply it, having this idea that he'll have his hand coming towards, and you'll see cut to Pursena's face, and she'll kind of wince. And yes, technically in the novel, he tries Linia too. They didn't have that in the anime itself, which again, I don't really think you necessarily need because we already got a hint of what he's doing here. But again, I was surprised he went that far. Like, it got very close to touching her, and then it cut up to her face. So we got a lot more than I thought we would. But there's a little bit of context here. And they kind of mentioned a little bit later, but I kind of got the hint here is Pursena's face goes from, don't touch me, crap, he's touching me, to, wait, okay, he's not going to do anything to me. She thought that he was going to go and just have his way with her. But then she has this look of conflict. which the idea here is you probably get like, wait, so he's not? Like, I'm not good enough? Which again, like I said, they could possibly get into like a full explanation of that later, so I won't get full details here, but it does emphasize here that she looks conflicted. Like, wait, why, what? That's it? But yes, after he touches Linia, that's when we get him going, okay, well, Pursena doesn't look like she's about to burst, have an outburst, so I'll take off her cover first. But yeah, that's when we get the whole reveal here that Rudeus wants to know, do you know what you did wrong? Then reveals the figurine, then reveals the Ponsu, and then that's when everybody freaks out. Again, totally nailed this. Linia and Pursena look absolutely terrified. Zanoba is terrified. Julie's crying. Again, I don't know why Julie's in the room. Why do we have to have Julie in the room? She's terrified. Again, massive emphasis here. This is his holy relic. This is his belief. This is one of those aspects of the story that is done so well in a way that it's creepy, but at the same time, it makes sense. Rudeus right here is instilling a massive amount of fear to everyone in this room. Not because he's a perv that has a pair of underwear, but that the fact that this is his religion. And they destroyed a symbol of his religion. There's a lot of emphasis in this whole segment put on the idea that it's almost as if somebody destroyed a holy symbol of Millis, the Church of Millis. That would be death. In the belief of the Beast Tribe itself, destroying somebody else's symbol, destroying their symbol, is amount to death. And so now they're thinking immediately, well, we're dead. Because we destroyed one of his symbols. We would do the same to anybody else. We are dead. That's why they're terrified. That's the fear that's in this room right now, is destroying somebody's holy symbol is amount to death. That's why they're afraid. So as everybody's freaking out, Zanoba's like, yeah, we should probably step on them just like they did the figurine and destroy them. And he's like, no, we're not going to kill them. We need to do something about this. And yes, that's when it comes up of the idea of how terrible they are because they did this. And Zanoba mentions the idea that you can't even fix it. And then Rudeus, this is the point where everything sort of clicks and fixes for Rudeus. Wait, I can fix it. I can fix it. I can actually make it better. Oh, crap. Now what are we going to do? It's that realization that this is not that big of a deal because I can fix it, that he just kind of finally snaps and goes, wait, this isn't really that bad. And, crap, what do I do now? Stepping back from himself and realizing the situation that he's in. He's kidnapped 2 students. They're princesses. And how do I not have them pretty much want to get payback now? Which, yes, turns into the next segment of what would Master Fitz do? Which is, again, one of those kind of constant segments of trying to figure out what to do in the situation and turning to Master Fitz, who he pretty much trusts with everything because he feels like this person always has the answers that he needs. Which, yes, turns into a conversation with Fitz, which he has to explain that, yes, I haven't done anything to him, but except I did grope him. But it wasn't because of that. I was testing something. Which, yes, there was a little bit emphasis here in the novel given to when he explains the situation to Fitz. He kind of equates it to their experiences at the market. That he gets a sense that Fitz has a sense of justice. He gets a sense that Fitz is angry that somebody's targeting his friends. So yes, Fitz comes up with their big master plan, which cuts back to the second questionable moment of this episode, which is that, yeah, they were there all day and tied up. And people have to do things after a while. So they messed themselves. And yes, Rudeus and Fitz has to clean it up. And because I'm not one to apologize for Rudeus, I will explain that yes, this is a little bit more questionable of a scene than the anime even portrayed, that Rudeus and Fitz together stripped them. And as Fitz was cleaning the underwear, Rudeus was wiping them down. Again, I am not apologizing for this whole scene. It's extremely inappropriate. And again, kind of expounds on my thought process here of why don't you see this as equal to what happened to you, Rudeus? Equally as embarrassing and I want to say dehumanizing, even though Beastfolkenizing. I don't know how you would say it. Just extremely inappropriate and haunting in my mind. Again, this isn't a good moment for Rudeus in my eyes. And it was unpleasant to read and it's unpleasant to watch, but it still should exist in novels. I'm still going to hold that it's okay to be written in fiction. It's okay to have these moments where you go, I don't like you right now, Rudeus. And even if it doesn't have a growing point or some sort of realization that comes from it, it can still exist. That's the cool thing here is I almost feel this is one of those moments where it's like it does something extremely offensive. And even if it doesn't have that moment of realization of Rudeus going, oh, he then realized he did something extremely wrong and corrected his ways. It's fine. It can still exist in a novel. It can still exist in a story. I honestly like Rufujin's boldness to have things like this where you yourself can question and go, this is wrong. And yes, there's going to be a group out there that goes, touch the Beastfolk girls, strip them down. There's still a sense here that it's like, yes, Rudeus sees them with nothing but their shirts on and gets a little bit, thinks that this is great. And you can even play into it. Yeah, they look hot there, but doesn't make it right. But yes, they soil themselves, they washed them up, re-put their clothes on, all that kind of stuff. At this point, there's an emphasis here that they've corrected their ways. Linia and Pursena are like, literally, they knew they did something warranting death. And he defeated them. Thus, in the Beastfolk's mindset here, he is now their boss. So Rudeus immediately goes, wait, now they're calling me boss. Why are they calling me boss? Because Linia and Pursena now see him as pretty much their pack leader. He defeated them. He's powerful. He's higher than us. There's no sense of here of like, well, we'll get back at him tomorrow. We'll find him on the streets at some point. We'll ambush him. No, they literally see Rudeus as their pack leader. And yes, he can choose that they can die, and he's not yet. But they're still talking rudely to Fitz, and that bothers Rudeus because he absolutely thinks Fitz is the greatest ever. This is my senpai, so you treat him with respect. And so as they talk nasty to Fitz, he's like, stop. And then, yes, let's go on with our plan here, which is to paint them. Now, this is a funny thing because what they do is they end up painting onto them with ink. And the paint itself says, on Linia, it says, I am a cat that was defeated by Rudeus. On Pursena, it says, I am a dog that was defeated by Rudeus. And the idea here was that in order to keep them from, retaliating, they'll leave the face paint on for an entire day, and then they'll clean it off. Yes, the whole joke here is that Fitz made that all up. That this whole idea, there's a tribe that they paint on them, they use an incantation, it becomes permanent, is false. And the fact that you can't wash it off is false. You just have to use a little bit of mana. Now, the other aspect here, which I don't remember them actually mentioning in the anime, there's more drawings. They wrote a whole bunch of obscene things on Linia and Pursena's backs. And that part, they're going to leave on them for 6 months before they wash off. And so this is the insurance policy for later on. If you say anything, if you retaliate, incantation, it's permanent. So they're again, even though it already gives you a sense here that they're treating Rudeus as their boss, they have this here that tells them, don't mess with boss for 6 months. But yeah, the Linia and Pursena faces here. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Despite my fact that I'm not a fan of what Rudeus did here, I still love the faces. The faces were great. The responses were great. I have to say, hats off to Pursena's Seiyu. Her voice is great. Throughout the novel series, my assumption was that I was going to like Linia because Catgirl, but I always have this kind of soft side for the dog girls because we just don't get enough Inu in any anime, really. So Pursena was like this kind of cute aspect that I really liked. I always loved her demeanor too. She's extremely foul in the novel series. She's extremely foul-mouthed. Every time she smells something that's unpleasant, like Rudeus being a little bit, aroused or whatever, she's constantly like, it stinks. What the hell? She'll just say the F word or whatever. Granted, it's translated differently from Japan, but you get a hint there. But yeah, we get our first glimpse of this great chemistry between Linia and Pursena here. Because what keeps happening between the two of them, they're just like a duo of comedy. What they'll constantly do is Pursena will pretty much say, go ahead and do that to Linia. And then Linia will respond going, yeah, do that to me. Wait, what are you talking about? This is this constant joke that goes on that I just can't get enough of. And so yes, this whole segment, you could do whatever you want to Linia, just don't touch me. And then Linia's like, yeah, you could do whatever you want to me. Wait, that's not right. It's great. I love the two of them. They're absolutely fantastic. But yes, wrapping up this whole scene as they're leaving, that's when Linia asks Rudeus, wait, how did you pull that off? How are you able to take us on like that? Does it make any sense? Especially since he's a mage. Again, this entire time up until Rudeus arriving and doing this to them, they've been the top dogs when it comes to fighting their upperclassmen. except for Fitz. And the reason why is because they had this duo going on with their ability to do their shout magic, their voice magic, and at the same time using the magic that all the other students have. So they had a leg up. And yet here, they failed miserably. He took them all on himself. Yes, Zanoba was chasing Pursena around, but he didn't really do anything. And yes, that's when he mentions, oh, I guess my master, my trainer would be Ghislaine. That's the only person he's ever had classified in his entire life as his trainer in fighting. Yes, technically Paul, but that was his father. Yes, he had Regerd, but Regerd never really trained him much. The only one that he was ever classified as his teacher was Roxy and Ghislaine. And Ghislaine specifically was for combat, which this is another one of those little name drop moments, because like this whole segment here is like, he tells Fitz that he knows the tribe leader, and Fitz is like, whoa, you actually know the chief of the Doldia village? What the heck? And then yes, with Linia and Pursena, I'd be like, yeah, I know Gaius, I know the tribe leader, I know pretty much all these people, and they're like, what, really? And you know Ghislaine too? He's just like dropping names, and they're actually accepting it. You would figure out eventually they'd be like, dude, are you real? I mean, are you lying to us? You know all these people? But again, for him to name drop somebody like Ghislaine makes sense. She hasn't been in Doldia forever. So he knows her, knows Gaius, knows the tribe leader. He's name dropping. He knows who he's talking about. But yeah, they wrap up the whole situation with a little scene with Rudeus and Fitz alone in his bedroom. Really super cute scene. Just absolutely nailed the shrine moment. It's like, oh, you have a shrine here. What's that there? Yes, I am a follower of Roxy. But no, stop. That was great. I love that little panic moment, that screech of panic as he just rushes over there and say, no, he actually at this point regrets the fact that he showed this to Linia and Pursena. He's like, nobody should gaze upon the Ponsu. And that really upsets him that he did that. But Master Fitz, he's like, no, I cannot have Fitz see that I have underwear in a cabinet. I should not. It would just ruin his image of me, basically. He still sees it as his holy symbol, but he doesn't want Master Fitz to think less of him because he has Ponsu in this shrine. So it's like that little conflict of, is it a holy relic or is it something to be embarrassed about kind of happening there? But yeah, shows around the room. Eventually, Master Fitz sees his pillow, which, yes, they don't really get into details here, but Rudeus, obviously, in this other world, could never find a pillow that was comfortable, so he decided to make one himself, which he took seeds from a Master Treant and then put them inside a fur and just made like the best he could of a pillow in this other world. And yes, Fitz absolutely loves it. And then we get the little tease from Fitz. Do you want to see under my glasses? He's getting all doki feelings and everything. And I get a kick out of it because he's like, why won't Fitz show me his face? And he starts to wonder, like, maybe he's hiding, I don't know, a birthmark under there, maybe a scar under his glasses, or maybe his eyes are just bulging. Because unlike us, we're able to see sort of a little bit of transparency through the glasses. Rudeus can't see anything. These glasses are covering up her eyes. So he's just thinking, well, maybe their eyes are bulging or something. Maybe he has something wrong with them. But yes, it's a secret. Teehee, it's a secret, and then walks off. But a little bit of a huffy puffy moment. Again, Rudeus sort of kind of being conflicted by, why am I having these feelings for this person? Why am I having feelings for him, my master? And at the same time, on Fitz's end, being a little flustered as well. And yes, technically that conflict that she has to even reveal who she is, which again, we may get into that eventually. I know at this point, there's a lot of people probably getting frustrated with Fitz. Technically, it was there in the novel series, but again, the cool thing that the novel series had this whole time with Fitz was that we had that curiosity of who is Fitz, and this is where it's starting to kind of get revealed. So we didn't have this whole time of thinking that Sylphie's just being a jerk and not revealing who she is. But that's for another day. But yeah. Anyhow, that is episode 7. Cannot wait for the outrage of the week. Again, I don't know if I'll actually respond to any of it, because again, I can't really explain it unless, yes, again, it's that aspect of not really understanding what Rudeus is going through with his state of mind and bullying and all that kind of stuff, which again doesn't excuse it, but whatever. But yeah, as per usual, greatly appreciate you guys for dropping by. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, I cover Mushoku every single Sundays for the anime, and I do a Mushoku Mondays every Monday where I cover the analysis of the novel series, which again, we're like right after the second season is going to be pretty much ending. But greatly appreciate you guys' support. If you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. Y'all take care.